All right, stuff I like.
Like an old familiar snowman, he's a jolly happy soul. So the list of all his likes is just about innumerable. From great films to even better books to reassuring polls. The last name you'll ever hear on this list is Michael Knowles.
All right, that was from Austin Ford. You people are out of your minds. It's like, no, it's like, I just actually lost all my faith in my listeners. So I had a really interesting experience the other night. I'm up late, I'm channel surfing, and I come to the movie Cabaret, 1966 musical by Bob Fosse, the great musical director, great choreographer. And I don't know if you've seen Cabaret. It is a movie well worth watching. It is based, there was a novel called Goodbye to Berlin by Christopher Isherwood, a gay guy who was living in Berlin as the Weimar Republic was collapsing, basically. And a lot of these guys a lot of the artists who came out of World War I were gay guys, which is really interesting, very anti the society they were in, very at odds with the society. Wilfred Owen, the great World War I poet, Siegfried Sassoon, a lot of them. And Isherwood charted in this story, it's a novel, but it's based on a true story, about this woman, Sally Bowles, who's a singer at the Kit Kat Club. And it became a play called I Am a Camera, and it then became the musical by Kander and Ebb, Cabaret. And they made it into a terrific movie. I had a personal, I've told the story in the air before, but I'll tell it again. It's a good one. I had a personal relationship to it because when I started out as a mystery writer, one of the first people to give me a blurb was the excellent mystery writer, Sarah Caudwell, the now late Sarah Caudwell. And so we became friends. And she was an English woman. And when I moved to England, we became really drinking buddies at times. She was a genuine eccentric. She may be the single most eccentric person I ever met. She smoked a pipe. She wore these glasses that were so thick. I mean, I always kind of assumed she was gay, but she was always getting these incredible crushes on men. She was not the most physically attractive person in the world. And she had a voice like a sergeant major. You could not, for the life of me, I could not understand half of what she said. So she would say, Drew, why would you go and meet me there? And I would go, I have no idea what she just said to me, but I guess we're going drinking somewhere. And Sarah Caudwell, who was related to Alexander Caudwell, who was the famous left-wing. She herself was very left-wing. She would get so upset when she would hear me talk politics. She'd say, Drew. She had to bark. I'd like go flying off the back of my chair. But it's a big lefty family. Olivia Wilde, I think, was Sarah's, the actress was Sarah's great niece, I believe. But her mother, Sarah's mother, was the real Sally Bowles. Sarah's mother was the woman on whom Sally Bowles was based. And she never saw Cabaret because her mother hated it because she said it wasn't fair to the people there. They were just scratching to make a living, and it showed them as being decadent when they weren't decadent. They were just trying to make a living in a very tough economy. And so when I lived in London, Cabaret was put on at the Dunbar Warehouse, a very famous kind of offbeat theater. And Jane Horrocks, a very, very talented singer, actress, and Alan Cummings, who has since gone on to become, you've probably seen him in The Good Wife. He's a big actor now. Alan Cummings played the MC, and Jane Horrocks played Sally Bowles. And I called up Sarah and I said, I'm going, do you want to go? And she said, yes. And it was set up like a nightclub where you sat in the actual nightclub as in the Kit Kat Club as the play was going on. And Sarah sat through that play and she wept the entire time. She just sat there and wept for her mother the entire time we were there. And afterwards went up to Jane Horrocks, the actress. I went up to Cummings because he gave such a great performance. I told him what a great performance he gave and he kind of sniffed at me. He wasn't that nice to me. But she went up to Jane Horrocks, and Horrocks was so lovely to her. It was very hard to it really was hard to understand what Sarah was saying half the time. And Sarah buttonholed her and kept her talking for 20 minutes, and Jane Horrocks could not have been nicer. It was a very beautiful moment because she was talking about how she played her mother, basically how she played her mother. So the other day I'm channel surfing and I come upon this this story. And it's a story about this incredibly interesting Sally Bowles and this gay guy who basically goes and stays in her boarding house, in the same boarding house, and gets to know this woman who is committed to being as decadent as she can possibly be. And here's the scene where Michael York, playing Christopher Isherwood, essentially meets Sally Bowles.
Ja?
Guten Tag, Fräulein. Bin ich bei Schneider? Könnte ich Sie sprechen? Ich suche ein Zimmer.
Fräulein Schneider, nix zu Haus. Have you a cigarette, darling? I am desperate.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think so.
Oh, fantastic.
You're American.
Oh, God, how depressing. You're meant to think I'm an international woman of mystery. I've been working on it like mad.
I was told there might be a room to rent here. Not too expensive, I hope.
Divine decadence. I'm Sally Bowles.
I'm Brian Roberts.
Come in, Brian, darling. Oh. Schön. English and cigarette. Oh, God, I've even begun to think of German.
How long have you been here?
Forever.
How long's that?
Almost 3 months. It's the most marvelous boarding house. Marvelous lodgers. Everybody's broke, of course, but who isn't these days?
And she's so impressed with her own decadence. They're so impressed with the fact that she sleeps around. She's so impressed with the fact that she knows gay people. She's so impressed with the fact that she knows transvestites and that they're living in this club. And of course, we know that the Nazis are moving in and the society is doomed. And what got me as I was channel surfing late at night and bumped into this movie, which I've seen like 3 times, and I've seen the play once, was how their decadence is nothing compared to the way we live in America today. You can't even understand. You cannot, a young person watching this movie without having any historical reference would not even understand why what they were doing was shocking. The idea that women might be virgins and might be shocked that another woman wasn't a virgin. The idea that it was shocking that they were gay people. The idea that it was shocking that people dressed up as the opposite sex. All of that stuff has become the norm in America. And it made me start to think, wow, their idea of decadence is our idea of Tuesday. It's our idea of an ordinary day. And it's interesting because we know they're doomed. And there have been theories throughout history that sexual decadence and what they would call moral decadence is the harbinger of a society's doom. They used to say this about the Roman Empire. It was the whoring and the craziness and the feasting and the eating that brought down the Roman Empire. Now, I think we think very differently about that. But it is true that the two recent pinnacles of Western civilization, the Victorian age and the 1950s in America, were both times of great sexual restraint. It doesn't mean there wasn't hypocrisy. It doesn't mean people weren't doing things on the side or under the radar. But it is true that the society at those moments was dedicated to sexual propriety, and at moments of sexual decadence or sexual what do we call it, looseness, at those moments, the society is really shifting into something else. We had them before. In the 1920s, we had a time of great sexual liberation, but it led to depression. That was followed by the Depression and the World War. And then we had these fantastic times in the 50s that were marked by sexual, I don't know what you'd call it, sexual decorum. I'd call it sexual decorum. And same thing was true in the Victorian era. Before that, in the 18th century, in the Romantic era, there was a lot of sexual radicalism going on, but it solidified into the sexual propriety of the Victorian age, much more powerful and progressive, in the good sense of the word, age. So I guess I was just wondering, as I was watching Cabaret, I was thinking, gee, we are at the high, there has never been a society that accepts more sexual behavior than this one. Never been a society that has normalized sexual behavior like this one, that actually calls you on account if you think it's strange that a man dresses up on a woman as a woman, calls you to account if you think maybe being a homosexual is not moral. There's never been a society like that before. And it really is interesting to know whether sexual decorum and greatness are correlated or causative, whether sexual decorum causes a society to rise up or whether sexual impropriety causes a society to fall. But guess what? We're going to find out, because there has never been a society as sexually loose as this one. Cabaret is almost incomprehensible now, and it made me sad to see it. Anyway, it's a great movie. If you haven't watched it, it is worth watching. It is worth seeing the recreation of that era. and the character of Sally Bowles is really one of the great creations. That's it. So fast, so soon, the Klavanless weekend is upon us. Run for your lives, hide for the rest of the weekend. Come back when if you survive, and I will be here on Monday. I'm Andrew Klavan. This is The Andrew Klavan Show, and here is Cabaret.
What good is sitting alone in your room? Come hear the music play. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. Put down the knitting, the book, and the broom. It's time for a holiday. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. Come taste the wine. Come hear the band. Come blow your horn, start celebrating. Right this way, your table's waiting. What good's permitting some prophet of doom to wipe every smile away? Life is a cabaret, old chum. So come to the cabaret.
The Andrew Klavan Show is produced by Robert Sterling. Executive producer, Jeremy Boring. Senior producer, Jonathan Hay. Our supervising producer is Mathis Glover. And our technical producer is Austin Stevens. Edited by Emily Jai. Audio is mixed by Mike Cormina. Hair and makeup is by Jesua Alvera. The Andrew Klavan Show is a Daily Wire Forward Publishing production. Copyright Forward Publishing 2018.